Okay, I think we're live. Good evening, guys. What is today? It's the 7th of January. Happy New Year on this Tuesday, 8 o'clock, January. Um, hmm, it's going to be a very exciting, very promising year. So tonight, what are we going to do? We're going to talk about how to get more things done, how to achieve your goals. Now, maybe, just maybe, you had some New Year's resolutions already lined up for yourself, and then maybe in the meantime you've been having this idea already. Well, that is never going to happen. I'm not sure if I can stick to this, and so on, right? Anyway, so we're going to talk about that tonight. But actually, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about a tool that has to do with your mind to overcome certain barriers, certain things that are keeping you down, and what it is that you can do in order to overcome that and actually start achieving things for real. So, first of all, my name is Erik. For people that know me, I'm actually Dutch. I'm from Holland. I've been in Ireland for about 2.5 years. And it's one of my passions to basically just relay data. My background is in engineering. I worked with Caterpillar, the big machinery, for a long time. Yeah, been in electronics. I've been traveling around for a few decades. That's one of the things that I really love to do. And basically, my first question to you guys is, where are you from and what brought you here tonight? So let me see, because I see a lot of new names. We are live at the moment on Zoom. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. So it's great to have everybody here. We have Catriona. Welcome, Catriona. I've seen you before. That's great. Chrissy, seems like a new name. Welcome, Chrissy. Debs, welcome. Fiona Royce, Jacqueline Oliveira, Lisandra. Then we have Muru G. Welcome, Myron, Ruth. It's great to see you, Ruth. Awesome. Then we have Sabrina, Shane Walsh, Suki, and Sam. All right, guys. So drop us a line. The chat is wide open. Maybe you just want to announce yourself quickly for the entire group, just to let everybody know where you're from and why that you want to attend this particular webinar tonight. Maybe there's some specific information that you're looking for. Maybe there's something that you want to handle in your life. Maybe you even want to help somebody else. Maybe you're just looking for data to help another. So, all right, we have Rayleigh, North Carolina, right? That's Chrissy. That's great. Chrissy, fill me in. I've been, of course, because I worked for Caterpillar, I've been to the United States a couple of times. Just can't pinpoint North Carolina right away. What is the neighboring state? Could you let us know? All right, so you need to learn how to be more productive. That's great. Catriona's here from Kerry, beautiful area in Ireland. Thank you, Catriona, for sharing that. You okay? Feel like you're progressing. Want to have a goal? That's great. Jacqueline Oliveira from Brazil. Awesome. From Brazil. I've been to Sao Paulo. Absolutely loved it. I felt homesick after having spent a week in Sao Paulo. Got myself some music. I got acquainted to the culture. Met nice people. What an amazing country. Okay, then we have Asia from Morocco. Wow, amazing. That's great. Let me see what else we have here, guys. Let me just chat here. Okay, East Coast, South of Virginia, North Carolina. Okay, good. Now I get it. Thank you very much. Good. All right. Asia, working on my New Year resolution as well. Great. Suki from Switzerland. Awesome. And Lisandra. All right. I've been struggling to manage my time and be productive. Okay. Well, guys, that is so cool. Okay. So my purpose for you guys tonight is that you're actually going to find out a little bit more of what it is that is holding you back. Now, maybe we have some engineers, maybe we have some technical thinkers here. I like to give you this viewpoint. Just have a look at this viewpoint. Let's say you have a car, but the engine doesn't run too well. And you happen to know a mechanic, maybe an acquaintance, maybe a friend, and you just want to know more, like what is actually going on with that car. And you approach this mechanic and you say, listen, can I ask you a question? Could you explain to me, how does an engine work? And that person would probably tell you the whole thing in a nutshell. Like probably within the next 20 minutes, you will have a good understanding, maybe even a profound understanding of how an engine works. Okay, you say, well, all right, I get that. Now, I seem to have some recurring problems with it. And I'm just curious, would you be able to find out what is the root cause of that problem? And you say, yeah, sure. I'm totally confident I can actually find that for you, find out what is causing the engine to behave that way. So, all right, well, if you can find out, can you also fix it? You say, sure. Well, you say, well, how long would that take? So, well, just a couple of hours. So let's say we take this viewpoint and we take that viewpoint into the human sciences. We want to have something very, very workable, very, very similar, right? So you take it into the human sciences and say, well, you know, how come I'm doing these ups and downs in life? So maybe I need to know what's going on in the mind. Maybe actually I need to know what is the mind. So that's probably a very good question. What is the mind? Now, if you would have an answer to that, then maybe you could find out, so what is the root cause of that problem that makes me do ups and downs, or that makes me feel depressed, or that makes me feel that I'm running into some kind of a mental block that prevents me from making progress in life. In other words, I want to know what is the root cause. What's this troubling factor that holds me back? And then the next thing is of course, like, well, how do I solve that? Right? Now, so tonight you're going to get some answers to that. I hope you're ready, because it's going to be very, very exciting. And the first thing we're going to do here is basically just start off with a definition of the English word flinch. My colleague is here, Dita. She's actually in the chat as well. If you have any questions, she might personally answer your question. So Dita is going to help us out here and then basically show the definition on the screen in a moment. So let's see if there's anything else that happened in the meantime. You don't have it? No, flinch. Flinch. And there we go. All right. So actually, I chose the Collins Dictionary. And here we go. Here's the definition. Flinch. If you flinch, you make a small, sudden movement, especially when something surprises you or hurts you. It continues, if you flinch from something unpleasant, you are unwilling to do it, or to think about it, or you avoid doing it. The etymology, the root, is from 1570, around that area, probably from Old French, fléchir, meaning to bend or to turn aside. Now, this is very, very important. To flinch. You have probably encountered this, for example, when you had to do a speech in high school, or perhaps in college or in university. You would notice that there was something inside you that gave you the feeling that you were unwilling to do this. Or perhaps that you were unwilling to think about it. Or that you actually felt a very, very strong urge to avoid doing it. You might have the same feeling when, for example, when it's time to visit your doctor or your dentist. Or maybe when an exam is coming up. Or maybe when you just have that idea like, I should go and talk to my boss. Or maybe I should actually contact my customer and ask him for the order, or whatever. So here's a question for you. Is this a bit clear? Have you ever wanted to go into action yourself, do something, accomplish something, and you would flinch? That's the question. Just very simple. Have you observed this in yourself? You had wanted to do something and you flinched. You had that feeling that something very, very unpleasant came over you. That gave you this feeling that you were no longer willing to do it, or you had that feeling like suddenly you didn't want to do it, you wanted to do something else, you wanted to avoid it. All right, we're tracking, yeah? Good. So now we're going to go to the next definition. And that is confront. So here we have it. Confront means direct observation. Okay, well, let's just do this. Two individuals. And there is a direct observation. So you see here in that definition, it says to confront, it is a direct observation. To face without flinching or avoiding. Now, in the etymology, the root, it says to stand in front of, to be facing. From the Latin cum, which means together, and frontem, the forehead. So you could actually say from forehead to forehead, a direct confrontation. Okay, now, so you actually see that if you're not confronting something, you might be flinching. In other words, your attention might derail, your attention might actually go somewhere else. All right, so I have a question for you here. So I'm just going to read from my page, all right? Now, does it seem logical to you that you sometimes have difficulties to confront things in life? Does it seem logical? Does it seem logical to you that you sometimes have difficulties to confront things in life? In other words, does that make any sense to you? Or would you say, well, that isn't very logical? What's your idea on that? Chrissy says, okay, I'm bad for always avoiding things. All right, that is very frank, Chrissy. Thank you very much. Jacqueline, always have difficulty to confront things in life. Unfortunately, I choose to do so. Okay, so we're going to go into that. Thank you for the answer, Jacqueline. Asia, sometimes we don't know how to do them. Exactly. Okay. Catriona, confrontation. Good. So, we see actually that there's already two patterns happening in our lives, right? There's certain things that we can really confront. And if you have a good look at that, you will actually see that whatever it is that you can confront, you can also handle. If you can confront something, you can also handle something. If you can handle something, you can also get a result. And if you don't confront, and if you flinch, then you're avoiding, you're not handling things, you not get the result. So it starts with flinching or confronting, right? That's like a bit of a pattern here. Now we actually want to know, where does this come from? What makes that happen? So we're going to do a little sketch here. We're just going to do that in a moment. Let me see, because we're going to go into the field of the mind now. Now, before we go into the field of the mind, I just have a quick question. Do you think anybody knows anything about what the mind really is? What is the number one reason for whatever it is that's holding you back? And that can even be fixed. What do you think? Is this technology or this knowledge, this information, available to you right now on planet Earth? Is there this kind of information or knowledge or technology that tells you exactly what the mind is, where the problem is, and how you can fix it? So, put something in the chat. There's going to be a funny answer. You can put a yes or a no. Is this information available or isn't it? Does it exist or doesn't it? What do you guys think? All right, Ash, yes, okay, I sure hope so. Lysandra says no, okay. Good. Anybody else? No. Okay, well, I will make this whole thing a little bit hopeless, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be kind of like hopeless that you're in a certain condition and you had this idea like, gosh, there's nothing I can do about it? Just take that viewpoint again of your car, and you have this ongoing problem with your engine. And every time it breaks down, the mechanic tells you, well, there's simply nothing we can do about it. Maybe you just have to buy another car again. That would be a pretty hopeless situation, right? Well, I can tell you, there's actually some very, very good news, because there is a completely worked out technology on the mind that tells you exactly what the mind is. And it tells you exactly where these mental blocks are and how to find them and how to get them out of your way. And by doing that, you can actually raise your IQ, your intelligence, considerably. And you can raise your confidence considerably. And you can raise your ability to confront things and not flinch considerably. In other words, if you could do that, you get a lot more things done, won't you? All right? So at the end of the webinar, I'm going to keep it a mystery right now, but I'm going to show you what it is. All right? Now, we're just going to do a very quick demonstration of what the mind actually is. And it's quite easy to relay from me to you, from you to another person. You'll find out, gosh, that is exactly how it works. So the first thing I want you to do is think of primary school. Just think of primary school. Now, if you think of primary school, wherever that was, did you just get a flash, some kind of a picture? Like maybe you could see the building again, maybe you could see the playground again. And if you saw the playground, did you see the entrance or the exit? And if you saw the building, did you get a flash of the classroom? Maybe you saw the corridor. Maybe you got a picture of the location where the school was. Now, that's my question. So, did any of you guys, just a quick answer here, did any of you guys just get some flash pictures in your mind? Did you get some flash pictures? Yes? All right. Okay, good. Yes, flashback at the playground. Very good. Fantastic. Good. So basically, maybe when I said playground, when I said exit, when I said, for example, classroom, if I would say the green board or the white board or the blackboard, you might get these pictures again, right? All right, very good. So flash memories. All right, now, let me ask you, did you ever have a pet? Like a cat or a dog or a bird or whatever? Do you get a flash picture again? You probably, yes, you probably had that flash picture again, right? Good. So here's the first thing. We have pictures in the mind. That's the first thing we can observe. We have pictures. Now, let's just do something very, very, very funny here. What I would like you to do is I would like you to imagine, not remember, but imagine that you're sitting in your favorite chair in the living room in the house where you grew up. So just take the house where you grew up when you were a kid or a teenager. And perhaps you had a favorite chair or a chair where you would just sit quite often. So imagine again, you're sitting in that particular chair in the living room again. Okay? Now what I want you to do is I want you to look around in that room and then find the TV. I'm just assuming that most of us had a TV. So from where you're sitting, what I would like you to do right now, just stretch your arm and just point out where you had that TV, where you had it located. So in my case, I would say, well, I had it more or less on my left-hand side, a bit over there, like three meters away from me, like perhaps 3.5 yards, right, for the Americans. And if you would do so, can you see the frame of that TV again? Can you see what it was sitting on? Perhaps a stand or a dresser or hanging on the wall or whatever. Now, if you managed to do so, that's great. Maybe you got some pictures. That's even better. If you didn't get any pictures, well, you would still have a recording and you would still be able to say, well, it was over there, or it was over there, it was over there. You still have the knowingness of where it would be. All right, let's do the same thing for a table. Any table in the room. Just again, imagine you're sitting in your favorite chair. Now you're finding a nearby table. Just point at it. And see if you can actually get the dimension of the table again, and the shape and the color, its height. Okay, and if you have that, let's just find one more item. Let's find a door, any door in the room. Let's find any door in the room and point it out. Where is that door? Is that, in my case, I would say it's behind me. Okay, so, all right, guys, a quick yes or no. Who was able to do this exercise? Pop it in the chat. Who was able to do this exercise? Jacqueline, fantastic. Asia, fantastic. All right, Fiona, yes. Lisandra, awesome, guys. Great. Okay, Maruji, okay, fantastic. So, what is our observation? Our mind is actually making pictures. Now, let's do a little sketch. So that would be, let's say, your body. And your mind makes pictures. That would be like a whole timeline of pictures. Now, very, very interesting fact. What we have just observed is that these pictures are three-dimensional. They're three-dimensional, and here's the kicker. Here is the kicker, ladies and gentlemen. These pictures are not in your brain. That just has to sink in for a moment, I'm afraid. They're not in the brain. Now, you would say, but listen, Erik, it's in every psychology textbook that it is in the brain. Well, yeah, that is true. That it is in the textbook, but it doesn't make it a true fact. What is happening is that when we look at psychology, psychiatry, we don't see any results. We don't see any technology there that actually increases IQ or confidence or makes the person more competent. It's nice to read, but we want to take the viewpoint of the mechanic, knowing what is an engine, knowing how does it work, knowing what is the root source of the problem, knowing how to fix it, fixing it, and then get the results that we want. That's what we're looking for. So why would I say it is not in the brain? Well, here's a fun fact. If you just did that drill, you would have said, well, the TV is over there, and the table is over there, and the door is behind me. You wouldn't say, well, the TV is over here in my brain, and the table is over there in my brain, and the door is here in the back of my brain. You wouldn't do that, right? It's very interesting. You talk to a psychiatrist and you say, well, you know, I keep seeing that man over there. He thinks you're crazy. But if you would say, well, I keep seeing that TV over there because you're looking at that picture, and I would tell you, well, you must be something wrong with you because there's no TV over there, we could actually end up in a fight. Because you know that for you, that TV really exists. Right? So we're talking about something really esoteric, funny, scientific, you know, all kinds of interesting phenomena going on here. So just wanted to point out, these pictures are 3D. Now, why is this so important? It's very important because these pictures, they have an effect on us. They have a certain influence on us. Now, if I would take a knife, let's imagine this is a knife, and I would cut my finger, I would say, all right, well, the knife really cuts my finger. Right? It does something there that's undesirable. But at least I can observe that it was a knife. Now, when there is an image there, a picture in the mind that works on me, but I don't see it, and then what do I blame it on? So for some reason, they have blamed it on the brain. You see how that works? Because there was nothing really there that they could find. So, what is this whole thing? These are mental images. And the key word here is mental. In other words, it's not physical. All right? Good. Now, who of you guys ever had a bad experience in his or her life? Like a sudden loss of a job, a sudden loss of a possession or a loved one, or maybe some kind of a horrible beat up, or a bullying, or doubling in school and being ridiculed, or whatever. Whoever had a very, very bad experience. All right, Jacqueline, Chrissy, okay, Asia, all above. Okay, thank you. Now, a quick question here. What happens if you think back on one of those bad experiences? Does the emotion have a tendency to come back and affect you again? Or does the pain have a tendency to come back and affect you again? Or in other words, is there something there that can still affect you again, even though it was a long time ago? Yes, you guys are tracking? Okay, in other words, it seems like this negativity, this pain has been stored. It has been stored somehow. Just like the picture of the TV, the table, the door, just like that, these pains, these negative emotions, these losses, they're also stored in your mind. So let's do a little exercise with this. Let's imagine. So this is the mind, yeah? I can put it there actually. Let's imagine this person here had a terrible experience with a dog many years ago. Just sketching it a bit small. Let's say there was this ferocious dog that bit the person, almost ripped his arm off. The person was bleeding like hell, had to go to a hospital. They put all kind of syringes and whatnot in his body. He was there surrounded by all these doctors and strangers and nurses and doctors in white suits, connecting up to machinery, have these very, very bright lights, this particular very strange smell in his space, being cold, and he had the whole recording there. So there's one key thing here, is that recording actually holds pain, and it holds a certain emotion that he doesn't want. Let's just say it has a force. It has a force. Okay? Now, let's imagine this was just 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Doesn't really matter. Let's imagine it was just a long time ago. Maybe it happened to him when he was a little kid. Now, many years later, he's walking down the road. He's walking down the road. And what do you know? there is a dog, not very dissimilar from the dog that he has a recording of in the past. And he just happens to see that dog. What is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? What does his mind do when he's in that situation? All of a sudden he's facing a dog. What do you think he's going to do? Chrissy, he's going to run. All right. Suki is going to flinch. All right. Jacqueline, he will flinch. Okay. I think you got this down cold right now, don't you? He will flinch. Exactly. He is going to flinch. All right, so let's go back to the definition. If you flinch, you are unwilling to do it. In other words, he's not going to go straight anymore. He's unwilling to do that. If he's flinching, he's unwilling to think about it. Like that, right? Or if he's flinching, he's avoiding doing it. Same thing again. He's going to take a detour or he's going to go the other way. Okay, now, have you ever seen that, for example, you had to do a speech in front of a group in school, and you had that paper, right? You were going to deliver the speech, you had this paper in front of you, you just couldn't keep the paper still. Have you ever seen that? You just couldn't keep the paper still. And maybe you started stuttering a little bit even. And maybe you felt like all of a sudden you got a very dry throat. And just maybe you started to transpire. And just maybe your legs went a little bit like spaghetti. Like you felt like you had no strength in them. And then maybe you also experienced that for some reason you had lost so much of the content that you actually wanted to talk about, and it just didn't connect. Have you ever seen that? Something like this. Maybe you went to an exam and you just went blank. Maybe you went to a job interview and you were well prepared and you sat there and the nerves got the better part of you. Yes, Debs? Okay. Yeah, you're tracking, right? Okay, so what is happening at that moment is that something interesting happens. This thing here that situation here triggers a similar situation in the past. This one is enough resemblance to trigger an earlier moment in the mind. Now, since we just said these are mental images, the person is not aware of it because he doesn't see, he cannot touch these images. These are mental. But that is what has been discovered. That situation here is able to trigger this one. But that is where your mind makes mistakes, because it confuses this moment in time with that moment in time. It confuses this situation with that situation. It confuses this location with that location. And the mind is constructed in such a way that when this kind of situation is happening, it instantly responds with that force and puts that force on the individual to tell the individual, don't go any further. So this is where the confront stops and the person will do something else. All right, so that is basically, in a nutshell, how your mind works. It's quite simple. Now, there's a lot more to it, but this actually covers a bit of the basics of it. You can go into more detail and you can find out a lot more, but that will cover it just in a nutshell if you would have to explain the mind, let's say in 10-15 minutes. Right? Now, does that make some sense? Are you kind of satisfied with this idea? Like, yeah, all right, I can imagine that the mind works like this. Exactly. All right. Needs to break the pattern. Yes, makes sense. All right. Great. Good. Now, what I would like to do is, just for the fun of it, I want to give you a little scale to see how does that stuff actually happen in your life when you're making plans to do something. So Dita, maybe you want to pop up that scale that we have, the last sheet. It's called the confront scale. Good. Now, so you see a scale over there, right? And you see a number of different terms, right? At the bottom, you see dubbin, and then invisible, and elsewhere, experience, beingness. So a number of things can actually take place. When you're in a situation like this, when you're about to start doing something, when you're asked to perform a certain task, when you're asked to do something, when you're giving targets and goals, and basically you need to get going and start doing something, you can actually start to observe all kinds of funny phenomena in yourself and in other people. And one of these things would be called, for example, at the bottom, you'd say dubbing. Now, if you take Hollywood, they're shooting films, and then they actually have to add to that the soundtrack, music in the background, what have you. That is where that name is coming from. It says dubbing. You dub it in together with the rest of the track. And this actually occurs in the mind. Let's say you have an assignment to talk to your boss. Or maybe you have to talk to a customer. And you just look at the individual and you get the idea, oh, but he looks a bit annoyed. He probably doesn't want to see me right now. It's maybe better that I see him another day. In other words, your mind kind of like tells you all kinds of subterfuges why you should not really confront that individual. You want to talk to your boss. You want to ask him for a raise or maybe a better job or doing something else, whatever you have in mind. And you want to leave your chair and you want to walk over to the boss, and you have this idea all of a sudden, oh, like he's probably way too busy right now. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure he cannot receive me right now. That would be a dubbing. Now, that is actually quite low on that scale of confront. We're actually having to do with a scale where the level of confront can actually go up and down. Now, the next one up, invisible. Let's say you're going out with a team, and And everybody has to do its own part. Everybody has to participate, right? And you're all going to go for a certain end result. And everybody has to, let's say, produce his own share in order to make up that end result. And you'll find out all of a sudden that some people are disappearing. All of a sudden they run off for the toilet, or they're going to go for a coffee break, or they're going to go outside and they smoke, for example, or basically they're not confronting. They're not confronting. They're like, the first thing was they flinch and they disappeared. And that would be invisible, right? And if it disappeared and it didn't come back, or they came back a lot later, yeah, that is what it is. They just disappeared and they made themselves invisible. Maybe up to the point where they said, you know, I'm going to lock myself up for 2 hours in the toilet, and when this thing is over, I'll come out. Person makes himself invisible. So the next one up would be to be elsewhere. So basically, we have the same thing here, just a shorter duration of time. The person says, okay, you know what? Well, I need to have minimum 2 coffees or minimum a few smokes before, you know, before I come to my senses again, and I can actually start with it and start confronting it somewhat. Then a little bit up, you get into the person starts to participate, and he starts to actually experience, but he's not getting the real production that he wants. And then all the way up, the person is actually fully himself. That mechanism, it doesn't bother him at all anymore. It is simply gone. He doesn't flinch anymore. He can just go for his target directly. He can confront. He can handle. And actually, he can get results. So, that is, of course, where we want to be. Now, if we just look at that little scale here, I just tossed it in for the fun of it, right? To see what's actually happening in life that dub in, you know, getting some funny thoughts that completely derail you and make you do something else and give up on your purpose and just give up on it, or make yourself invisible and say, well, you know, I couldn't possibly do this. Or going elsewhere, say, well, I need to have a break from this before I can actually start participating. And then you start participating, but there's still a little bit of, you know, a little bit of awkwardness, but with some serious push of yourself, and, you know, like, keep pushing yourself and pushing yourself, you're eventually making it all the way up to that total comfort zone of beingness where you could comfortably do whatever it was. Have you seen yourself? That's the question right now. Have you seen yourself or anybody else going through these different states? That is my question. Jacqueline said yes. All right. Okay, great. Lisandra, yes. Maruji, yes. Debs, yes. Fantastic. So it's already real, right? Now, what is the solution? What is the solution? Solution is very simple. Let me just wipe the board. So what we just saw was that we have a mind, and it will be found that there's certain moments in time where some forces have been recorded. These forces can now be triggered. You observe something, it triggers something in the mind. The force is now activated, and it is commanding the individual to stop whatever it is that he's doing, and as a result, he's going to give up and do something else. So, if there is a way to eliminate that force, and eliminate that automaticity, that this thing automatically triggers that thing that then commands the individual to change his mind, that his body goes numb, and that he changes his goal or purposes. If that part is handled, then we actually have solved the problem. Now let's say we can actually do that. Okay, so we'll give you an idea. Let's say here he wants to talk. Let's say he wants to talk to a customer. He wants to be able to sell something. He wants to be able to ask for the order. He wants to be able to talk to the boss. Whatever. Well, let's say that is an ability that he would like to have. He simply wants to be able to talk. Now, when he tries to confront it, and he flinches, this force takes over, and he cannot talk. In other words, he cannot talk to the boss. He cannot talk to his customer. You could almost say he has a disability, or he has a lack of ability. What will happen is that when you take that mechanism away, right now, it will not command him. He will feel confident to talk. He can talk. So you have actually changed the individual's ability. All right, now, maybe you're going to say, you have to tell me now, how can I do that? Is anybody here that at this point says, okay, Erik, you have to tell me now, how can I do this? And just out of my curiosity, just to see that this message come across. Is there anybody here who says, well, okay, at this point I want to know, how can I do this? All right, Asia, yes. Yes, please. Soki, learn to confront. Yeah, sure, but then there's still the learning. How do you do that? All right, now, I'm going to tell you. First of all, that mechanism has been with you your entire life. And I don't have to tell you how much trouble it gave you. Have you ever heard that we only use like 10% of our potential? Does it make sense? Well, if you look at that mechanism, you can probably see like, yeah, damn, it's like, it seems like 90% of my potential is actually working against me. So let's imagine that you could just convert that 90% not working against you, but working for you. All right, I'm going to show you something here. There is a solution. It's all in this book, ladies and gentlemen. A book is called Dianetics, meaning through the mind. Dia from Greek, through. Netics from the word nous, the Greek word mind or soul. In other words, through the mind. And it's called the modern science of mental health. Now, science is a body of data, just like with a car, that helps you to make predictions and to get results. That is a real science. And Dianetics is a real science. It is a science about the mind. It tells you why certain things keep happening in your life, keeping you down, limiting your potential, making you fail at the things that you actually want to do deep down inside. And with the application of Dianetics, it is not something to believe in, it is actually something practical, something you do. You can actually raise IQ in any person, including yourself, and stop flinching, raise your ability to confront things, get things done, and basically what is actually going to happen? You're going to take your mental blocks away. Now, actually, to that extent, we have put a sensational promotion for you guys on our website tonight. And Dita is going to share that with you. Oh, you don't have a slide, but do you have a link, Dita? You have a link. All right, no, that's fine. So Dita is going to share a link with you. I'm just going to let you open that link. And then I'm going to explain what you find in there. Let me have a look. Yeah. That was the first one. And then you have another one. Good. So what do you see in the first link? You actually, because we're starting a brand new year, and because a lot of people have made New Year's resolutions. Now, you're probably quite positive that this year has to be better. Has to be better than last year. Maybe you actually want to invest in yourself rather than investing in, I don't know, something for your home, some kind of a possession, a computer, a phone, clothing, what have you. Maybe this time you actually want to invest in you, in your potential, in your happiness. And Dianetics is going to help you with that. So, Dianetics, book on the mind, tells you what is the mind. It knows the mind, and it knows exactly what is limiting your potential. And then it knows exactly how to fix that. And the results are amazing. Now, the first 200 pages of the book will tell you everything about everything that you need to know on how the mind works. The next part is the practical application. In the back, you'll actually find a glossary. Now, with that, if you're interested in the book, we're actually throwing in another book, which is a new slant on life. And what you find here is tools that you can use right away to be more efficient, to be more organized, to know who you can trust, to improve relationships, to find a solution to ups and downs, just to name a few things. This is like a practical toolbox for life, and this is a practical toolbox for your mind and stripping away your limitations. We're going to throw that one in for free tonight if you want to read this book. All right, now, any feedback? How does that sound as an offer? Just out of curiosity, because we have more offers. I'm just very curious from your end. Do you like the offer that we're actually making tonight? Okay, so everybody's staying quiet. That is perfectly all right. Now, if you want to be a diehard, and if you actually want to make a complete deep dive into the subject, you want to go into the details of Dianetics. Now, just to let you know, this is a book which is so big that it has been translated into 52 languages. 22 million copies have sold of this book. Successful people use this because it really works. That's how big it is. So we're talking about $20, 20 euros is like a no-brainer. That is the number one investment you can do in yourself, right? Now, if you want to become an expert in this, help yourself, but also help others, there is even an extension course that you can do. And we are a non-profit organization with a purpose to help you to get started, to bring out the best in yourself. There's an extension course that you can do from home, which is basically you would read a part of the book, and you would then look at some questions and see how that stuff relates to your own life. And it helps you to actually start putting it into application. And that is the next link that is actually coming up with a special offer for you. Yes, the book is available in Dublin Library. However, Jacqueline, I have to be honest with you. I own 3 copies myself. I have one in Dutch, which I've actually read already 4 times. And then that which is a special letterbound. And then I've got this one. Actually, I have my copy downstairs. It's like full of yellow, right? Which is my own workbook. And then I have another letterbound. I mean, this is something you actually do want to have on the shelf. I can tell you, you will keep consulting it again and again and again. And just like tonight, with all that, the book just lays it out for you in a way that while you're reading, you will start to make these clicks of understanding with yourself that already clears up a whole lot of confusion. That next time when you run into a similar situation, you might say, gosh, I used to behave like that in the past. I don't do that anymore. Because understanding actually eliminates confusion. Okay. So, Fiona, thank you very much. That is amazing. So here's the deal, guys. I don't want to do a sales pitch, but here's the fact. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything to keep your life going the way it is. If you've been doing dubbing, if you've been going invisible, if you've been going elsewhere, if you found it very hard to participate, but somehow were able to do so here and there, but you never really got to the point where you could comfortably handle life, you don't need to do anything to just keep that going. Your life will just continue to go that way. It's not a very pleasant outlook. Unless you want to do something about it. And the solution, honestly speaking, is that millions of people actually discovered Dianetics. Millions of people have actually gotten improvement. There's an interesting quote here from John Travolta. You probably know him. He's an actor. He says, "Dianetics put me into the big time. I always had the ability to be somewhat successful. But Dianetics freed me up to a point where something really big could happen without interference." All right, I want to leave it here, guys. Is there any question that you have? Is there any question? It's still a bit early tonight. Is there any question? Maybe you want to ask something in person, something in private that you don't want to share here tonight on the chat. Is there anything that you would like, that you would personally want to ask me? If so, just put a line in the chat. I'll be happy to get back to you. Or any other question that you feel that you may want to share with the group that you don't mind, just drop a line. Sam, all right, does the webinar offer Newsline and Live book and Dianetics even if we aren't in the UK? Well, it depends where you live, Sam. I think we can definitely do something for you. It just depends on where are you on the planet to see what we can do for you. But I'll be happy to touch base with you and give you an answer. Okay, thank you for the webinar. Thank you, Jacqueline. All right, Maruji, thank you. Now, I have a final statement. If you look on Meetup, you will see that tomorrow we are actually going to do another webinar onto that specific subject. We're going to go a bit deeper into the whole thing. We're gonna take the book by the cover and the back, and we're actually going to clear up some very, very fundamental phenomena. Now you need to know, now you need to understand like what is really going on in your life. That is going to be tomorrow, 1 hour earlier, from 7 to 8. It's called The Mind Explained. And we're going to take parts of the book, clear them up, so it will actually come to you as a full understanding, a conceptual understanding, that you actually, like I just say, get a conceptual understanding of what is going on in your life, in your mind, in your thoughts, in your behavior, and so on. If you found tonight interesting, you'll find out tomorrow might probably even trigger you more. So do join if you found tonight very interesting. All right, good. So, Spela, you were there as well. All right. On confront scale and beingness, courage has nothing to do with beingness in order to confront things, or has it? Yes, actually, when we start eliminating all that bad stuff here, which is to say, you don't have to eliminate the mind, you simply eliminate the negative force, then the courage goes way up in an individual. So you take away the bad stuff, the courage will just return, come back in the individual. He starts to be more himself and actually can say at some point, gosh, you know, I really discovered the real me. So that will happen, Spela, definitely. Thank you for your question. All right, guys. So if there's no further questions here, I'm going to let you go. Thank you very much for having been here tonight, having come to the webinar. I hope to see you all again tomorrow. It's going to be spectacular. And if not, see you next time. Bye for now.